Hey everyone, it's me, Matthew. Welcome back, I'm glad you're here. Last time, we learned about Joshua and the Israelites and how they entered the Promised Land, the land of Canaan. We also learned that they had to trust in God's plan to gain victory in conquering the land. They also made a promise to always follow and obey God. Today, we're going to be talking about the book of Judges. Let's go! Also, my hair's a little crazy today, so I apologize if it's all over the place. Okay, let's go! Bible! Story! Time! Bible story time! My hair! It's just not doing what it's supposed to. In a nutshell, the book of Judges is about the Israelite people slowly turning away from God. You see, they were supposed to get rid of all the other nations in the land of Canaan, the Promised Land. But instead of doing that, they start to intermingle with them and start to worship their false gods. And they quickly forgot the promise they made to God that they would follow and obey him. And this is a sad day, right? Because God punishes them for their disobedience. And he uses those other nations that the Israelites didn't kick out to conquer the Israelites. And he uses them, it says in chapter 2 of Judges, that God uses those other nations to test his people's faith, to see if they would walk in the way of the Lord or not. And I think it's sometimes hard for us to understand that God gives us a choice to follow him or not. Because we think that God's just going to make us follow him. But he gives us a choice. And despite our choice, he's going to love us always. But I do think it makes him sad when we choose not to follow him or not to obey. And it probably makes him angry too. But that doesn't change the fact that he still loves us, no matter our choice. So the Israelite people, they fail, right? They worship these false gods and intermingle and don't get those other people out, and they fail, and they get that punishment. They get captured. So God sends these people called judges, Book of Judges, and those people are sent to rescue his people from their failings. Question! Do you think it's hard to choose to follow God? Talk about it. I think this is a hard question to answer, because I think the answer is different for most people. I think some people think it's easy to choose to follow God, and others, I think it's hard for them to choose to follow God. For me, I think it's both. There are times in my life where it's easy to choose to follow God because life's going well, and I get to do what I want to do. And then there's other times in my life where it's hard to choose to follow God because I have to give up something that I want to do in order to follow God. And those times, it gets tough to follow, right? It gets tough to choose. And I think it boils down to how selfish I choose to be versus if I choose to let go of what I want to do and follow God. And for the Israelites, I think it was the latter. It was harder for them to do the latter of those two, right? It was hard for them to choose to let go of what they wanted to do and choose to follow God, right? They chose to sin when they got into the Promised Land, right? They didn't clear out all the other nations and they started to worship other gods. And the punishment for that was that they were captured and attacked and conquered. They were being oppressed. And during that oppression, they would repent and ask for forgiveness from the Lord. And God, the Lord, would send a judge to rescue them, and then they'd have peace again. And this cycle of sinning, being oppressed, having punishment happen, them repenting, a judge coming to save them, and having peace, this cycle is something that happens throughout the whole book of Judges. Over and over again. They sin, they're oppressed, they repent, a judge comes and saves them, and there's peace. This cycle happens. Right? And now I've said the word repent a couple times, and that brings us to the word of the week. Word of the week! It's the word of the week. The word this week is repent. Can you say it with me? Repent. Repent means to turn away from your sin and ask for forgiveness from God. Repent. The book of Judges ends in chapter 21 on verse 25. And that verse says, "In those days Israel had no king. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes." This means that the Israelites chose to do whatever they wanted to do and didn't follow God. Question: what was the last thing you were selfish about? Talk about it. The last time I was selfish was this past Easter. Okay, I understand. I've probably been selfish after the fact, but this is the one I'm going to tell you about. I did not want to share my Easter chocolate with my family. Anybody else? Anybody? I wanted to eat it all. Chocolate's so delicious, and I did not want to share. Was it the right thing for me to do? Nope! Was it very loving towards my family? Not at all! But I wanted to eat that chocolate all to myself. I was being selfish in the moment. So, I start eating the chocolate. Oh, melts in your mouth good, right? And as soon as I finish the first one, I soon realized that my family would also love to have chocolate. And it was wrong for me to be selfish. So I took the rest of the chocolate and shared it with my family. I think it was the better decision. The Israelites start to look around them and see that all the other nations have kings. And they didn't have a king. And they started to ask God for a king. They're like, "God, we want a king." And God's response was, "I am your king." And the Israelite people, no. We want a king we can see. And this made God sad because he was their king. He was their king, right? And they were his chosen people. And he knew that no human king would treat them as well as he would. But the people insisted. So he gave them a king named Saul. But before we get there, a final thought for us today. Ask somebody you trust how you could be less selfish. Oof. Tough question, I know. But maybe you guys can come up with some ideas. Maybe sharing a toy that you just got would be a way for you to be less selfish. Or maybe doing an extra chore when you know it's your screen time. Or maybe going to the back of the line, even though you got to the front first, letting someone else be there instead of you. Now, that would be tough, I think. A lot of kids like to be the front of the line. Am I right? Anyways, talk about it with somebody you trust this week. I would love to hear your answers or what you come up with in the comments below. So let me know. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye!